Okay. Do you play the blame game? This is kind of a controversial topic because it definitely steps on some delicate toes or it strays into territory that is very potentially explosive, and not wanting to step on toes, but definitely wanting to explore this concept of victim and blaming, and where law of attraction kind of weaves in through all of this. So that's what I'm going to be chatting with today, and I don't quite know where this conversation is going to go, but feel free to join me and find out. Hi, I am Kylie Ansett. I am the Alignment Whisperer, and I guide seekers of alignment to get in touch with their inner brilliance, that part of you that is brilliant, that is fully knowing of your brilliance. And I love to help you connect with that and bring that forth into the world and shine your light for us all to benefit from. So as a life coach, I support you in that journey. So I'm coming to you from beautiful Sydney, Australia. Do tell me where in the world you are at this very moment, because I would love to know. And this is your daily dose of alignment. Okay, so the blame game, victim versus victor. I have had so many discussions with many people about this topic, and it is a very it's a hot topic. It's kind of a controversial topic, and it's also a potentially kind of there's a lot of what I think is misunderstanding. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to express where I am coming from. Now, I do truly believe, and this is where the controversy comes in, I truly believe that being a victim is a choice. Yes. So often when people hear that, they immediately equate in their mind with that it means it's your fault if you're a victim. So that's kind of the place that this often ends up going. We end up looking at this as, well, if something happened to me and it's a choice to be a victim or not, then it must be my fault. And I want to dispel that myth. I want to really put to rest completely that is not the way that I interpret this. Now, of course, we all have our own individual interpretations, but this is the way that I come forth into the world and the way I see this concept of victim or victor, and how we create our own reality and all of that kind of thing. So this is the way I see it. When when something happens to you, this is often where we can feel that we are a passive part of that equation, and that's where the victim mentality, the victim status can come. Well, this happened to me, and this was a bad thing, and so that makes me a victim. Well, how about if the way that I am offering here for us to play around is that rather than seeing it as this happened to me, that makes me a passive recipient of the thing that happened to me, what if you step forward into that as being someone who chooses how you decide to view that thing? Now, this is where things get interesting, because the same exact event can happen to different people, and I'm sure you know this. I'm sure you're aware of where this has happened. The exact same thing happens to two different people, and they experience it completely differently. The classic thing that I always like to refer back to is a movie called, I always forget the name for some reason, A Beautiful Life, I think it's called. But anyway, the point was that the thing that happened to the man in the movie, the protagonist in the movie, was something very bad, but he was not a victim. He chose to turn it around. In that movie, he's actually he's a prisoner in a concentration camp. I mean, doesn't get much worse than that, right? And he has his young son with him as also being a prisoner. And in an effort to protect his son from the horrors that are around them, he kind of turns it into some kind of game. Now, it's a long time since I've seen that movie, but it's the concept. I know it's a movie and so on, I get that. But it's the concept that I'm playing with here. It's the concept of we always have a choice. No matter what happens to us, we choose whether we see ourselves as a victim in that equation or not. Now, the other part of this kind of thing that I'm exploring here is how so many people see this as, well, if it happened to me and I create my own reality, then I must be to blame. You know, somehow I'm to blame for creating these difficult circumstances. And no, it's not about pointing the finger. It's not about blame. It's not about, well, you deserve that because you created that. No, it's not that at all. This is where I really want to dispel this. I see it as a kind of a misconception when it comes to the law of attraction and the way that particular thing shows up in our lives. It's just everything is a choice. And so no matter what happens, good, bad, or indifferent, you step forward into it with your own power intact, with your choice as to how you are going to you are going to manifest, you are going to react, you are going to actually make the decision to act. So rather than being in reaction, where even just reacting to something puts you kind of on the back foot, you're kind of passive, right? When you are reacting, rather than stepping forward on the front foot and being in charge of the situation. Now, it's a subtle thing. Like this is not something that anyone observing from the outside would be able to tell the difference. So it's a subtle shift in your internal energies. It's a vibrational shift, and those are the most subtle of all. So rather than, so again, someone looking from the outside would see no different, but you from the inside, it would be a world of difference. If you play the blame game and you say, you know, let's say you look at someone else, bad thing happened to this person, it's their fault because law of attraction, they created it. No, this is not how this scenario works, because the bad thing or the thing that happens is not the important part of the equation. The important part of the equation, the part of the equation that is mutable, that is entirely within your control, is you. You are the important part of the equation. The thing that happens is almost irrelevant. How you step forward, how you move through your life I'm trying to change the word reaction, because that in itself denotes some kind of passivity, but in interaction with everything that's around you, this is something that is a choice, moment to moment to moment to moment. Always a choice, no matter what is going on, always a choice. Now, if you identify as a victim in any given circumstance, if that is the position that you are identifying yourself, what happens is it closes down just from a brain chemistry perspective, it actually closes down the ability for neurons to fire and opportunities to become part of your awareness. And that is where you then kind of go down that spiral. I think we've all been down it. We've all had that experience of where things go from bad to worse, and we feel more and more passive and like we don't have the ability to make choices. Now, I find, hey Justine, hey sweetie, welcome. I find this absolutely incredible, because I definitely know that when you step forward and instead of closing down the possibilities and closing down the choices, you don't see yourself as a victim. You step out of that into, I mean, victor and victim sound like they're the opposite, but in a way it's not really stepping into victor, because that just by being a victor, it kind of denotes that something has to be, you have to be victorious over something. and maybe it's over your own mind, but really it's just that you have the ability to make choices. And if you see yourself like that, then what happens is just by the type of questions that you're asking, or by the way that your brain is operating in that moment, it opens up possibilities. And then the circumstance that you find yourself in, yes, as we said, potentially a very negative circumstance, but when you don't see yourself as a victim, you suddenly have choices. And then instead of things going from bad to worse, they go from bad to better, and then from better to good, and so on. And you kind of shift through it. So that is my take on law of attraction and being a victim, and how we react or interact. I'm going to try and use that word because I like it so much better. How we interact with the circumstances around us, how we bring our own inner power to bear on everything that's happening, no matter what it is. So for me, being a victim is a choice, because no matter what circumstance I find myself in, I choose not to identify in that role. And I'm offering to you, if there is any part of your life where you have felt that, where you've kind of identified with that, I'm offering to you to just play around with shifting that identity and see what it feels like. See if maybe it actually brings up a whole new raft of opportunities and options. And if so, then, well, you know, how wonderful to know that it actually is a choice, no matter what circumstances are going on. So that's my offering with you today. I hope that kind of gave you some food for thought, and was, I guess, at the very least, thought-provoking. Thank you so much for playing with me in the Alignment Sandbox. And please remember, always remember, the power is within you. Bye-bye.